If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly...
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Central Valley Talk. My name is Ray Johns, and the name of the show is Ray Johns, American Patriot. Before I get into talking about who our patriot is for this week, I just want to reiterate on something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and that's the taking down of the statues of Stonewall Jackson and Robert E. Lee. Like I said, I had some conversations with some people who are totally in the same boat with me on this. One is my partner here, Gary, and the other one is, of course, Mark, a friend of mine who's going to be on the show here in a couple of weeks. I'm totally against that. I mean, how far back do we go with this? Do we go back and take down all the statues of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson? This thing is getting out of control. It is ridiculous. We should stop it. Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson were Confederate heroes, you know, and they have relatives who... it's wrong, okay? I don't know any other way to say it. My mother always said, right is right and wrong is wrong. This is wrong. We should not be doing this. And because of that, I decided to feature today Virginia Belle Boyd. She was a Confederate spy for the Confederacy. Interesting lady, very wealthy lady in her own right. She was single. Her parents were extremely wealthy. She was actually arrested because a Union soldier broke into the home and threatened her mother, so she shot this guy. So she was arrested, taken to jail, cleared of all charges, and became a spy. She was a charmer, so she would get invited to all these parties with these Union soldiers, and she would charm them and get the information back to Stonewall Jackson. And Stonewall Jackson actually credited this woman for his victories at Shenandoah Valley. He said if it hadn't been for the information that he received from her, he wouldn't have won those battles. So our feature this week, our American Patriot this week, is Virginia Belle Boyd. Look her up. What an interesting lady. And let me introduce my favorite American Patriot, Gary Miguel.
How are we doing there?
Doing good, buddy. How you
Good,
doing?
Ray.
What are we talking about this week?
Well, there's a number of things that we could talk about. You asked a question right before coming on there. What did I think of Tillerson?
Let's start with that. That's great. I think let's start with because I know there's a lot of people would like to know about that. Let's start with that, Gary.
Yeah, and my take on that is Tillerson was the right guy at the right time for what needed being done, been done at the time, or getting done at the time. And like a good manager or leader that he is, Trump seen what his value and where it went and what was needed, and what Tillerson did was an outstanding job.
Very well said.
And then he reached a point to where the next phase that the country needs to go in terms of world, Secretary of State. He's not for that.
You know, and I think his timing is probably just perfect. We're getting ready to sit down with Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader, and so I think that was all considered.
Yeah, and the point is, it's like not taking anything at all away from Tillerson.
Yeah, great man.
You know, it's like, man, you got a pitcher out there, and that guy's been going great for 5 innings. Well, there's nothing wrong with him, is there?
No.
But he needs to be replaced.
Absolutely.
But they got a left-hander coming up, or they got.
I've had to do that many times in the men's adult baseball league.
Well, then you understand that,
Yeah.
and so then it's nothing against that pitcher you took out, but it's everything putting the right guy in there for the right time.
That's putting it perfectly, Gary. I totally understand it.
And that's all you need to understand about that Tillerson deal.
Good. There you have it.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
You know, that's always interesting to me when I go to the fake news press, and how they make something like that and go a week on it when I sit there and think, man, you can do that in about What did we take? About 45 seconds?
At least, yeah, less than a minute. Less than a minute, we cleared it all up. And, they've been talking about it for a week now.
Yeah, and what other explanation but that?
Well, they're using all that they can. Anything they can do to discredit our great president, they're going to do it. You know?
Well, yes, and what really was disheartening somewhat, well, it was disheartening for me this week, was I found out that the Republicans, like Paul Ryan, in this election, the recent election in Pennsylvania, we had a Democrat versus a Republican, you know. Paul Ryan campaigned for the Democrat.
See, that's something I didn't know. Now, you just hit me with something I didn't know. And apparently the audience, I bet 90% of the audience out there didn't know. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, and so here Trump is, the leader of the Republican Party, and you got a guy that's the House Speaker of the Republican Party, and he goes and campaigns for the Democrat candidate.
I am shocked. I am truly shocked.
Well, then you'll be shocked maybe with this. It's announced this morning that, I don't know, it might be fake news. But
Gary always brings great stuff to the show. I love it. Go ahead, buddy.
But anyway, Paul Ryan supposedly is going to quit being a congressman.
Is that right?
Right. By April or something.
You heard it first on this show, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, that could be fake news.
Yeah,
I don't believe anything anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Until it actually happens. But here,
interesting to see if that happens.
But here you have the Rhino Republicans. Now think about this, and there's a lot, a lot of them. And Ryan, of course,
I'm finding that out. There are more and more all the time that I didn't know.
These people are aligned with the leftists in a lot of things. Okay, and so then you ask yourself, well, with Trump fighting so hard for the American people and America and being a Republican, why is these people fighting him tooth and nail when they're supposed to be his people, the Republicans?
They're supposed to be aligned with us.
They're never Trumper thing. And I got a simple answer for that, too.
I'd like to know what it is.
Okay, and the reason is they are in this thing for capital M-E. Trump is in this thing for America first.
It does come down to that.
And Americans first.
It does come down to that. This right here.
It's just what I can get from me.
Yeah.
Well, when you go in the short period of years, the amount of money being spent by lobbyists per congressman or per politician has gone from something like $5,000-$6,000 or something like that to where now it is $133,000
per
oh my politician that we elect. That they're receiving an additional $133,000. Now that's average.
Yeah.
Some are greater, some are less.
Yeah, but that's still average. Yeah.
Okay, now let's think about that. That's the cash. How about the perks? How about the memberships at the?
Well, I'm sure the perks exceed $133,000.
You know that there's chauffeur limos go by and pick up some of these guys' kids and take them to school and pick them up. Okay. Now, who do you think's paying for that?
Of course we are.
Yeah.
Of course we would. Trump will stop that.
Well,
though,
but who's paying for it is the people that own the politician.
Yeah.
Now, this recent election in Pennsylvania, in fact, kind of surprised me that it ended up as close as it did.
Yeah.
And here's the reason. He had the Republican leadership backing him, campaigning for him. Think about that. A Democrat having these people campaign for him.
That's a big plus for them.
But where the Republican made a mistake, and he was in a primary union part of the district. Well, he's a union district guy. What's he doing? What's he doing coming out with right to work? Yeah. That's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, all he had to do was just leave it alone. But no, he's out there right to work. Well, that's a union member doesn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the guy was too dumb to be a politician anyway.
Yeah.
Well, then I turn around and they got this guy 33 years old, but he's a Democrat. But what did he campaign on? Here's the thing that's important to think in mind. He campaigned almost 100% on everything Trump is for.
What does that tell you? Oh, my goodness.
So if you're a Democrat and you like Trump and you want to keep it going, you're behind Trump, and then you get a guy out here that's a Democrat. Now you're a Democrat and you get a guy that's a Democrat, but he talks exactly says everything you want to hear.
And you're already a Democrat. So
So why don't you just go ahead and vote for the guy?
That's what happened.
What you don't know is once this candidate, this 33-year-old candidate, gets back to Washington, he has to go 100% what they tell him, or else they're just going to put him in a cloakroom somewhere. Mm-hmm. So to get elected, he said all the right things. When he gets back there, he's going to have to march to the beat of the Democrat bosses, which Pelosi and Schumer and that. Mm-hmm. Well, how many Democrats voted for Trump's tax reform? None.
Yeah.
Now, are you trying to tell me that none of those Democrats wanted a tax reduction for their people? There had to be some of them that did, but they had to vote with Schumer and Pelosi. Well, then what makes you think that this guy, from Pennsylvania, when he goes back there as a Democrat, talk like a Republican, talk like Trump, goes back there, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to have to go right back to go along with the Democrats.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's where the public gets confused. They're not, and the fake news, of course, they're not going to explain that. And and let's face it, politics is not on everybody's mind 24/7. They come home and they hear this, and all they hear is this guy. My God, there's a guy, a Democrat, sounds just like Donald Trump, and I voted for Donald Trump. Man, I might as well just go ahead and vote for him too. In fact, this other guy is kind of against what I'm thinking about with that union. So that's how come we get it. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that Democrat didn't win by a landslide.
Oh yeah.
Now think about it.
And it was close.
He talks like Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Democrat, and he's pro-union, mm-hmm. That's the only difference between the two. Why didn't he win by a bunch?
In the media, what are they doing? They're touting this as a total victory against Donald Trump. I mean, it's just, how ridiculous is that?
Well, when it gets down to it, which will be next fall, I don't know. I don't see many Democrats getting elected. Now
No, I don't either.
But they're going to do the same exact thing that they did with Trump. Remember, right up till the day of election, everybody thought Trump was going to lose.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, my phone was ringing. And
mine too. Me too. I remember I was in the hospital. Remember?
That's right. I remember that.
That was I gotta tell you guys what an exciting night that was for me. I had voted absentee, so I'd already voted for Donald Trump. But I went to bed that night with all my friends calling me. I mean, I was not feeling well, so I finally just quit answering my phone, shut my phone off, But I'm getting a ton of calls, and they're calling and telling me all this sad news about he's losing here, he's losing there, he's losing here. And I went to bed, and I was not feeling well. Well, the nurses come in at 3 o'clock in the morning and wake me up. They did, and there's 4 of them standing there, wonderful ladies, and they got smiles on their faces. And I'm thinking, oh, gosh, these guys are liberals. They're here to tell me something that Trump lost. Yeah. And I said, what is it? I said, are you here to give me a pain pill? And they said, no, we're here to give you some good news. Your man won. And I said, you're kidding. And they said, yeah. They said, turn on the TV. So I turned on the TV, and sure enough, Trump had won. And I said, give me my clothes. I'm cured. I'm ready to go home. Yeah.
Well, the same play is in place right now, trying to discourage the Republicans by acting like that there's going to be a blue wave like you can't believe.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're touting it already.
Yeah,
yes.
and they're going to continue all the way into the final election. I still think that the Democrats might win 2 out of the 24, whatever it is.
You're really good at predicting, Gary, so I'm going with you.
What I see. Yeah. Now, what's taking place, or one of the things is that we're seeing now how the Republicans, I call them the establishment elites. We talked about that. The rhinos. There's a pretty good, healthy group of those people who are bought and paid for. And so they're no different than a Democrat who's bought and paid for.
Oh no, I agree totally. No difference
you agree with
at
that.
all.
That's called the Uniparty.
Yeah.
Okay, now, but here's what's interesting. More and more of those are dropping out. Why are they dropping out? Because their funds that they've been getting all these is drying up.
There it is. And that's what it's all about.
Right. I actually think of this, Ray, and I want you to think about it.
Okay.
Okay, now let's assume for a moment that Trump made an announcement today that he's going strictly independent. And so he's no longer part of the Republican Party, or is he part of the Democrat Party? I think that the Republicans would all still vote for Trump because that's why they're voting for it. That's why they're in that, right?
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Okay.
Totally.
Now, what else would happen? I think he'd get half the Democrats, because I think that probably half of the Democrats, of course, are the libtard snowflakes, whatever, communists, you call it what you want. But there's half of them that were born that way. They don't pay that much attention, and they just kind of
they're not going to not going to change the way they think anyway.
Yeah.
Those
but
the other ones.
That's right. So then Trump picks up half of the Democrats and all the Republicans.
Yeah.
And not that he needs
I
that
agree with
anyway.
you totally. I think that's exactly.
And he
what
runs
would
as
happen.
an independent, and this confusion of Democrat, Republican things that we get into with conversation. So that would come to an end, because I mean, like, I look at myself in terms of Republican. There's a whole lot of things I don't like about the Republican Party, and one of them being the way that they're trying to subvert Trump, which is trying to save the country. I'm not for that.
Yeah.
And if Trump was to run as an independent, I'm fine with all that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not voting for him because he's a Republican anyway.
No.
In fact, if he said right now he was a Democrat, but he's not changing the thing,
you'd still vote
I'd
for
still
him.
vote for
Absolutely.
him.
Absolutely.
I don't care whether he's Democrat or Republican.
I had my friend Mark I met this morning for breakfast, and he said basically the same thing.
Did he?
About basically the same thing.
So I think that the public is kind of waking up, and of course, just what's happening is you got this investigation. Yeah, they're throwing everything at Trump, and they will continue to do so. There's no limit.
Oh yeah, that's not.
In fact, Trump even told his daughter Ivanka and her husband, said, "Why don't you guys just go back to New York? You're taking enough punishment as it is, and just go back to New York." And of course, Ivanka said, "No, Dad, I go back there, I'm going to catch the same thing we're catching now, so there's no escape."
It's like you said before. I mean, what man would put his family through this, his young son, his wife, all his children through this, except somebody who really and truly wanted to make a difference in this country, and he has.
Well, he wants to save it, because it wasn't a question as things as is, which means decline. We're talking about a cliff.
Oh yeah. We were on a spiral downward.
If Trump was not
spiral.
president right now and Hillary Clinton was president, it's hard to even imagine what it would be like.
Oh God, it's scary even thinking about it.
Yes, it is. And because if you break it down in what she represents in the Democrat Party, which is a communist party. I don't care. You call it what you want.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
I
remember when you first thought that, and I thought, yep.
You may want to
right.
fuzz it a little bit with socialists.
Yeah.
To me, socialist is just a stepdaughter to a communist.
Oh yeah. They're
they
almost
live in the
neck and
same
neck,
house.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, they live in perfect.
Perfect.
Absolutely perfect. They live in the same house.
And so there's no difference there. There's a difference in that the communists, everybody gets paid the same.
Yeah.
Which means nobody does anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the socialists, they determine what you get paid, but which creates class system.
Yeah.
You
That's exactly what it does.
And of course, socialists only. There's an interesting thing to keep in mind. There's no such thing as a country that can start with socialism. It's impossible. Mm-hmm. They have to start with capitalism, because otherwise the socialists wouldn't have any money.
Exactly.
So there's no such thing as a socialist country starting as a socialist country.
No.
It's a byproduct. Actually, socialism is a byproduct of capitalism.
Absolutely.
If you understand that part, then yeah.
Yeah. And I've known that and heard that before, and it's very true. We're going to take a break, but before we do, I want to say a couple of things real quickly here. First of all, to our and he won't like this because he's a modest guy. Our technician Mike is wonderful. I mean, we come here, we got water, I've got my coffee.
Yeah.
He is just outstanding. He does a great job. And secondly, works are in the makings, ladies and gentlemen. Take our show on the road to my absolute favorite place in Central California, which is the Elbow Room, and Mike Serenian, and we're going to broadcast live for that. They're working on it right now. And you talk about fun. We're going to have a live audience. You're going to love that, and we're going to have a live audience shooting questions back at us from it. And so it's in the works right now. Hopefully, as soon as the weather gets better in the spring or early summer, that's going to happen. So this is going to be a fun show at the Elbow Room. So we want to get a really good audience there, and I'm sure we will. That'll be fun. So we're going to take a little break here, and we'll be back. I'm going to go and get some more of Mike's great coffee here. And we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, say 2 and 2. Okay, I'm back, and I'm back, of course, with Gary. I want to say something about something that happened this past week, and it was explained to me this morning, my friend of mine, Mark. I had a couple of guys that approached me and wanted to know if they could go to work for me. And there were these guys that you see walking around this. I hate this so much. My mother hated this before she died. Her and I used to talk about it. And the guys that have their pants hanging off their butts, I just can't stand that. It just bothers me so much. And they approached me and said, we'd like to go to work for you. It wasn't like, can we go to work? We'd like to go to work for you. And their whole attitude was bad. And, of course, I said, I don't hire people that dress like this, And I couldn't believe this. They said, well, what's wrong with it? And, of course, that was the end of the conversation. That ended it right there, And but anyway, I didn't know. I kept trying to find out, what does that represent? What does it represent? It's got to represent something. And I found out, you won't. Probably most of you are, I'm so naive on some things, you probably already know this. It comes from prison. Apparently, when people are issued pants in prison, they don't give them belts,
Right.
because they can hang themselves with it. They can make it into weapons. So the guys are walking around holding up their pants, and their pants are drooping off. So that is, you're emulating that. That is what this is all about. I just couldn't believe it, But then you look at the character of the people that do this.
Well, it's so much as wearing a billboard.
Absolutely.
And
perfect.
What I see when I see it, that person has zero pride in themselves.
Yes.
They have no pride. They're totally insecure.
Absolutely, another good thing. Yeah.
And they are.
It's the only thing they have to cling to.
Well,
I like the insecurity part because they don't have anything else.
They don't have, and they have an extremely low self-esteem.
Absolutely.
They hate themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have a miserable life.
And why would you hire somebody?
Well,
I know you wouldn't,
hire?
and I certainly won't.
No,
there's no way in the world anyone could ever work for me like that.
Well, if they don't have pride for themselves, what kind of pride are they going to have in the job they're doing for you?
Absolutely. No.
Come on.
The guys that work for me are great.
Yeah.
None of them are like that.
Well, you sit there and you're going to hire a guy, and you say, well, I'd like to have him know that he has pride in his work, pride in our company, pride in what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if he demonstrates right from the get-go that he doesn't have pride for himself, how in the world can I expect anything?
Who in the world shows up and asks you for a job dressed like that, thinking that that's okay,
Yeah. Well, those people are unfortunately losers, and maybe down the road
Thank you.
there'll be something that they'll see the light, but you're not going to save everybody, and you just got to somehow don't let those people some way not affect you that much.
Yeah.
And one way to not affect you is just you don't fool with them to begin with.
Absolutely, and that's my philosophy.
Well, mine too.
Like I said, when he said, "What's wrong with it?" I thought,
Yeah.
you need to leave my property. Yeah. That just ended the conversation right there.
Yeah, you need to keep up, not fall behind.
Yeah, thank you. Very good statement.
And looking at you right now, you're falling behind, and you have been falling behind. And I'm not about to. I didn't bring you to raise. I'm not about to raise you now. You got to do that on your own.
That's right. You should be already raised by the time you get to me. I like that, Gary. I like that.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's something come out of my mother.
Is that right? Hey, I didn't bring you to raise.
I love it. That sounds like exactly something would come from her.
One of the things that was active this week is McCabe.
Oh yeah.
What happened is they call it a small group. Mm-hmm. We don't know how many involved yet, or how big, but anyway, they call it a small group, and it's a group of people in the FBI who became corrupted and criminal.
Oh gosh.
And crooked.
Yeah.
And the purpose was to overthrow the form of government we have. and by
this country.
these are FBI people. They, people with a high position in the FBI, like McCabe.
I remember growing up, I thought so much of the FBI.
Well, I mean, we all
and I'm
did.
sure you did too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I thought, oh my gosh. In fact, I told you before, one of my things was, I think I want to go in law enforcement I want to go be a law enforcement officer, and I want to be an FBI agent. I mean, I remember thinking that at a very young age.
That's the way I always felt about it until these guys come. But what's happened is these people have been weaponized. The FBI, a portion of it, has been weaponized against America.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Okay, so the
You
question...
think Comey was a major part of that?
Oh, of course.
I think so, too.
Yeah. So was Obama.
Yeah,
in fact, he might have been the leader, and so was Hillary.
Yeah, all of them.
But here's the thing that they're discussing now is, do you fire McCabe because he's leaving Sunday, and if he is not fired, he receives full pension?
Oh, yeah, fire him right now. That'd be my thoughts. Yeah, fire him now. Fire him today.
The question is, why does that even the question? Well,
fire him right now. He should have been fired yesterday.
Somebody asked the other day, and they said, well, what do you think could happen to McCabe? I says, my lord, he should go to prison or jail for life.
We have enough freeloaders in this country as it is,
Yeah, and let him go. He don't need a pension when you're in jail.
No.
He doesn't need that pension.
He gets, as they say, 3 hots in a cot. That's good enough.
And you put him in prison for life. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, how long is that? Well, that's until the next firing squad meeting.
Yeah. I love it.
That's
Yes.
simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Put him away for life until the next firing squad meeting.
Yeah.
He
gets his 3 hots in a cot,
Well, during that period.
Yeah, so he doesn't need any money.
It's only about a week away from the meeting. And the thing is, though, you got to look at it more serious in the sense that we're talking about a way of life that we have, which is what we consider to be America, a free country, a republic, of a guy that's trying to destroy it, and you're supposed to think, I have to decide whether I'm having trouble deciding whether he should get a pension or not. I mean, the guy should get a handcuff.
Absolutely.
Without even, why are they even discussing it? But you see how far we've fallen with that political correct and how weak we become as a people to even think of considering that. I mean, 100 years ago, if a guy did that, he'd been long gone.
Oh, I sold a mobile home recently, which is my business, to a really good old boy, and I just love this guy. We talked politics, and he's my kind of person because he's a farmer. And we were talking, and he said to me, made one statement to me that made me laugh and made him have a belly laugh, and we're hanging on to each other. And he said, there's a lot of people in this government that could benefit from a good old-fashioned buggy lashing. Yeah. And he's right. Yeah. He's right. They could benefit from a buggy lashing.
Yeah. Well, we've become a nation of softies. To even, I'm sitting there when I first heard that. There's a big discussions on the social media about whether this guy should get his pension or not. And I'm thinking,
why?
Why is that even discussed?
It shouldn't be.
It
shouldn't be. Fire his butt right now. Get him out of there.
What are these people doing running around right now about? What's all that about?
Like I said, we have enough freeloaders in this country already collecting money for nothing, for doing absolutely nothing.
I've been defending Sessions because I think it does take a long time to get the investigations that he's going through and all that. Plus, it's a big, huge job. Look at what he's had to do with the M13 and all the rest. Yeah. So I've been defending Sessions, but I guarantee you one thing: if he doesn't fire him, Sessions is out the door, man.
Oh yeah.
I like to think of him as a sly fox and not a possum.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
But I'll tell you what, he's a cub bear.
Oh yeah.
And not a grizzly if he doesn't fire that guy.
That's right. Yeah, he should be fired.
Yeah, he should be fired, and I hope Sessions does that. And if he doesn't, he's got to be gone.
Yeah.
And
I think that'll happen. Well, I hope so. Well, who knows? We're down to the wire now,
and you look at, for instance, like getting back to like Tillerson with Iran. Trump has a different story on Iran. He wants to completely do away with them having nuclear capability and so forth. Well, same thing with Korea.
And it's gotten so worse. It just got totally out of whack with Obama. He didn't do anything except perpetuate the
man,
situation.
Can you imagine, let's take the ISIS alone. I mean, when Obama was there, when he left, the ICE was peak. I mean, it was never had been great.
When's the last time you read anything in the
Within
paper
1
about
year.
about those idiots?
Within one
you know?
year, it's down to they only have 2% of the caliphate that they once had. Just 2%.
Yeah.
And he does that in 1 year. Obama sat there for 3 years with that JV team, he calls it.
Yeah. While they killed people around the world.
My Lord.
You
In
know,
fact,
how sad is that, you know?
In fact,
When's the last time you heard from those fools?
well, you haven't. And ISIS is heavy in Britain because they have a Muslim mayor, you know, and they're ultra, you know, I don't want to use that word I used to use, libcoms.
Yeah.
They're libcoms now. And they're full of them. And,
I still like libtards. I still
well,
like
I do too. And I think that's part of that PC indoctrination. I'm supposed to think my thoughts now, I didn't ever give it a thought.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't mean to insult anybody. I didn't see it that way, and I still don't.
I don't either.
And
I don't see it
so
as
anyway,
you know.
but what I'm getting at is see how they control your thought.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I used to drive by the high school here about 20 years ago and see pickups with gun racks and never even gave it a thought.
Yeah.
Now, oh my God, I got to call the sheriff.
Hey, let me tell you something. Whether there was a gun rack in it or not, somebody probably called in with just having the rack
Oh,
there.
that's what I mean. They
Yeah.
do. Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I used to go to the high school to get bullets.
There was I don't think there was a pickup at my high school that didn't have a gun rack because that was kind of a status
Oh, of
thing.
course,
It was
yeah.
kind of a status.
Oh,
When
yeah.
you're 16 years old,
Oh,
you
yeah.
drive around your pickup, your gun rack was
Oh,
in the
you
back.
gotta
You
have
know,
a gun rack.
it made you a real cowboy, if
Well,
nothing
this
else. You know,
political correctness has made wimps out of so many people. It's
that's
unbelievable,
exactly what
you
it's
know.
done, Gary.
And there's
It's
no
made
toughness
wimps out of a bunch of people.
Well, and there's no toughness there. And so anyway, I don't know. I kind of like that libtard also, but
Yeah.
but at any rate, what I think what we are going to be looking at here now, and Trump's going to step it up a little bit. And I noticed
he is.
I noticed that they're trying to get to him. Well, they keep trying all the time. One of the things is they're just raising tremendous with a subpoena. That, Well, come to find out, those subpoenas were way back when. You know, Trump's business and all that. I mean, what is that? That's up 12 years ago. Why do they bring that? But he comes right back
Oh yeah.
and nails them. And one of the things that he's nailing them with is, of course, like this sanctuary city, you know, and he's not going to let up on them, and he's going to hit them, keep hitting them harder. And so what they do is they bring that out for the narrative, you know. But what happens? We come right back and get that thing out in front. And one of the things he's getting out front is extremely important. Is remember when General Flynn was admitted to guilt in the FISA warrant and the judge Contreras?
Yeah.
Come to find out, he's a personal friend of the people who were trying to overthrow the United States
Oh my goodness.
in the FBI.
Oh my goodness.
And boy, I mean, that came out. So they hit Trump with that subpoena and his boy getting a divorce. All that's front.
Yeah.
Boom, he hits him with that.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Now, can you imagine the judge is a personal friend of the people who were getting the FISA warrants on the American people to spy on American people? I mean, if that isn't scary, what
It
is?
is, and that wasn't the purpose of that organization anyway. It
never was that.
It was never the purpose of that
It
organization.
was never to spy on American people.
No.
It was to be able to spy on foreign terrorists. But you see how they weaponized that whole thing and made it. You know, they went after a ton of people with evidence that is contrived evidence. And like I mentioned some shows ago about, like, if I wanted you out of that business with a FISA deal, I can go in there and make up all kinds of accusations.
Absolutely.
And you have no remedy.
Yeah, no recourse at all. At all.
And I get you out of business.
Yeah.
And that
Is that scary or what?
well, and just like what, in fact, to the level that they're doing that to get rid of the President of the United States.
Yeah.
Because the dossier and all the information that's in there, it comes to find out it's fake. Well, why was all that used? And why was it passed? Why didn't the judge stop it? Because he is.
A part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it gets kind of discouraging as American people. We're sitting back here, you know, kind of taking for granted we've got some justice going on here and stuff, but we don't. We have a two-law system, and let me tell you, that will demoralize a lot of people when they realize that, hey, man, I'm getting this ticket, but if I was Hillary Clinton, why the cop would just tear it up.
Yeah.
And it just goes on and on. Where how come that she doesn't have the same regulations on her house across the street that I have to have? She can water her lawn any day she wants, but I got to water mine only on Monday, Thursday. People get a little bit. I think there's enough people raised with the idea that America, we are equal in the eyes of the law. And now we may not be equal in the sense that you could play baseball and I can't or something like that. But in the eyes of the law, legally, you got to go by the same speed limit I do.
You doggone right. As it should be.
And if it isn't, then that's where you start the demoralizing of people and the loss of hope and so forth. So Trump has to restore that law and order first. And they're doing that, but I wish they were more aggressive than they are with it. And I think it's going to be a great relief to a lot of people if they see Hillary in an orange suit. Because she's actually the biggest criminal the country's ever had.
Biggest one that I've ever heard of. Absolutely.
If you go in, and
this woman belongs in jail.
Why are they not investigating uranium, where she sold 20% of the? How does that get by?
Wasn't that like? Yeah, you said it. 20% or 20 million or something.
It's 20% of our uranium was sold, and she received 145.
That's more than 20 million then.
While she was the Secretary of State, she received 145 million.
Oh my!
For the sale of our product. I mean, it's not like she owned it and sold it.
What do you think would happen if you and I'd done that?
Oh my Lord! I mean, there isn't a noose tall enough, high enough, or strong enough.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
we'd have been you and I would have been playing chess in the same cell in Leavenworth together.
Oh, if we lived that long.
If we lived that long.
But the point is, she's sitting there, and it's so much. I always use the example. Let's say that this forestry up here, and you were in charge of the forestry, and I'm a lumber mill down here, and I need lumber, but I can't go in that forestry and get that because it's a forestry. But you're in charge of it, and I say, Ray, for $5 million, if you'll let me go in there and we log that lumber out of there,
I'll pay you $5 million.
Yeah. Well, in a heartbeat. I'm not saying you would. I'm just saying no, I can't because that's against blah blah. But if you was Hillary Clinton,
you'd say
in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So
show me the money.
Yeah, and if you was Hillary Clinton, you'd say, man, when you get your logging trucks up there.
Absolutely. Show me the money.
And she gets $5 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just say now Russia wants to buy uranium, and they want 20% of our uranium, and they offer Hillary $145 million. If she can get them this uranium, and so what she do? She gets it. And she gets $145 million, no different than you got $5 million for all those logs up there.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But then here's the difference. You didn't get by with it. Whatever happened to Ray Johns? Oh, that guy, hell, he's in San Quentin being there forever.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to Hillary? Oh, she's still cackling all over the world.
Oh, yeah. Getting paid for speeches. Her and Obama. Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't make... the public loses confidence, and if they lose confidence in that, it's a negative, not a positive.
Yeah.
And that has to be turned around, and that's where it gets back into where, you know what, I do that, but I know one thing: I took my chance like everybody else. I get punished like everyone else, and that restores faith in in government.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I see it right now, and as far as a loss of faith at this point. Now, we've been going along with this investigation now for over a year. Well, people are getting tired of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was okay, and then all of a sudden it gets down to where you say, I've had enough disclosure. I've had enough response in that regard. We got a new disclosure, a new revelation about what's going on. I'm done with that. You had enough of those things. I want to see the thing get to where all of a sudden there's accountability going.
Yeah.
And that means indicting people. And you've got to start doing that. And this is where I'm a little bit upset with Sessions.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't done that.
Yeah.
And the Congress and Senate, they're limited in terms of what they can prosecute or cannot prosecute.
That's true.
Now, I have heard that Sessions went out of Washington, D.C. and got a prosecutor to investigate.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I don't know if that's fake news or not.
That's true. We don't know. We don't know. It could very well be that.
Well, supposedly he's got this completely away from Washington. He's got this person that nobody knows who it is. It hasn't been leaked at all. And so he's got this person that's been on the job doing the investigating without any leaks or anything, and with anybody knowing who it is since last July.
Wow.
Now, I have to sit there and say, man, can that guy go that long and nobody ever know what he's doing? It seems kind of weird in Washington with all the leaks.
Yeah, it does.
Which gets back to that, another one, the leaks. Those are felonies. And these people, the people leaking it was like, it was like a sieve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just run it. You're right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And they're all committing these felonies and stuff and didn't give a thought about it. Why? Because they got by with it all this time.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
And if those leaks, whichever one of them is, 100%, if it's anti-Trump, I'm all for it. You can leak all you want.
Yeah.
I'll go buy you a new sieve.
Absolutely.
So the thing is, there's not the right kind of accountability that's being asked, and why not? Because they're all owned by that deep state deal. I mean, look at Paul Ryan. Look at that Gowdy.
Yeah, perfect example.
There's a guy that a banty rooster in a hen house, and all he does is quack, 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 quack. Nothing ever happens. But I notice he's quitting. Yeah. I know Chavez quit. Yeah. Look at all the Republicans, rhinos, that are anti-Trumpers that are quitting. Yeah. Ahead of time.
Well, prior to the election, look at that. Ryan made some terrible statements toward Trump.
Yeah. And McDonald, whatever that guy's name. Yeah. McConnell.
Yeah, McConnell.
So here's what I'm kind of hoping. I hope we get a different breed of cat in terms of people running for office, Republicans. Yeah. And I also hope that we get a different breed of cat of Democrats running for office. Yeah. I don't care whether
exactly
Democrat,
as long as yeah. I got asked an interesting question this morning at breakfast about the state of California, and it was proposed to me by my buddy Mark, who's just guy's brilliant. He's just absolutely brilliant. Hi, Mark. Anyway, he said, what do you think is going to happen to this state? I mean, do you see any changes in this state happening? I said, yeah. Once we get rid of Brown, once we get rid of Feinstein and Boxer and some of these other liberal Democrats, yeah. But we have to get rid of those people at the top before things start happening in this country, in this state, I think.
Yeah, you're going to have, obviously you have to get rid of that, but that's kind of like.
And I don't see that happening right now. I mean, you and I talked about that.
Well, I don't know. That's kind of like giving a guy that needs a haircut. You still got the same head of hair. But what I think what has to happen is I think that California has to get itself in such a financial fit that it will require the United States to rescue California financially. Yeah. I don't think you do anything unless you do it financially.
Yeah. It all boils down to economics.
Yeah, and these people are being rewarded for being as they are, Yeah. And so until that is cut out.
Makes sense, Gary.
And it goes bankrupt, or that the U.S. can come in with their rules, not California's rules. Yeah. That needed to straighten it out. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of a dope addict or an alcoholic. I mean, you've seen that over and over. It's almost like anybody that recovers has to hit rock bottom before they recover.
Tough love thing. Yeah,
and I've seen that over and over. Where
exactly
you go to a rehab or you go to this and you try to quit, but you go back. But you'll finally
hit rock bottom.
Hit rock bottom, and that's when you.
And there's only one way up, and that's one way to go, and that's up.
Well, you take, like, for instance, our retirement we have in this state. It's unsustainable.
Oh, that's a perfect example.
I mean, you can't. We got people retired. I got a friend of mine retired, 55 years old. My God, he's got almost full pay. How can you keep sustaining that? Who's paying for all that?
And I just talked to somebody the other day who has a relative. Look at this, and I won't even mention the position they have, but they're retiring on almost a $200,000 a year salary And they're getting 90% of that for the rest of their life.
Sure.
There's a perfect example.
That's a perfect example. So, then what happens when the people that replace them, when they retire, and that one's still alive, and this one's now.
Now you're paying double for the.
So you're paying. I figured out in some of these jobs you're paying
can't.
3 times the cost for that one job that it used to be from the day one. So how do you keep sustaining stuff?
You
like
can't
that?
sustain it. You can't.
See.
You can't.
And
it
so
can't go on.
I don't know. I kind of there's a different solution. I've talked to you before about that white apple thing. Which has to do with tax deferring, and that's a formula for it.
Hey, it's a great formula.
And
for it.
but it's something that God, it's an education process, But that's a solution.
Yeah.
And so what it really boils down to is that anybody that's working has a career of in the workforce, and they retire, they're financially set for the rest of their life, not by the government pension, but by their own investment.
Yeah.
In other words, their own account. So what it boils down to is you change it from being dependent to being independent. And your account, using this formula that I've talked to you about, that account is far greater than any government that's going to provide for you down the road. And so if it's far greater and it doesn't cost the government anything, then why not? And that's what the answer is. And Trump knows that, and he is shifting little by little into that kind of direction. Because I couldn't be talking to you like I am right now had it not been for the tax reform, because it didn't exist.
Yeah.
The opportunity wasn't there.
Exactly.
But now the opportunity's there.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you look at that and realize that that's something that can come about, and it's going to take years of education and so forth to do that, but more and more people will become aware of that.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting now. Boy, Trump got a tremendous tax reform passed. I mean, who would ever dream they could have got that?
I know. Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is, Gary.
Now, here's what's even more incredible. He's not satisfied with that. He wants to go to phase 2 on that.
He said that. Yes. Yeah.
So think about
Yeah.
that.
Imagine what that's going to do.
Yeah,
you know.
just when these libtards are worried about the tax reform as it is, he just comes back and he said, "No, that's still not enough. We got to go another phase here."
Yeah.
So he keeps them off guard with stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so they were busy. Hey, those people want to raise your taxes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but let's say you are one of those people receiving that pension, and you worked for the government all your life, and now you're getting this pension. You don't even know what it is to be in a private business. You have no concept of that.
They've never worked in private.
No,
the private
it's
sector
a whole different,
ever. They've been politicians
it's a different
all their life.
culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a whole different culture.
Yeah.
That they have no understanding of. So all of a sudden, more taxes. That means more money for me.
Yeah.
Not that they aren't getting enough for doing nothing anyway.
Yeah.
You see how that works?
Yeah.
So that the whole attitude's got to change, and it's got to start with the media, which 95% is against you.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get it there.
Yeah.
And the other part starts with the indoctrination of our education system, and that's 95%, and you're not going to get it there.
Yeah.
So it's going to have to come from grassroots things like what we're talking about here. And this is going on all over the country. People are realizing and so forth, and it's not, it's not easy, because there's a lot of people that you run across that you're just not going to have anything in common with when you feel like the way you like, for instance, you and I feel.
Yeah.
Because there's somebody that doesn't grasp that or doesn't understand that. I mean, it's like, what are you doing watching a ballet show when you're a baseball player?
Yeah.
And you understand watching that game what that's about, but you have no concept what that ballet is all about.
Yeah.
You're there.
Yeah.
Silently.
Good point. Very good point.
And that's kind of like what's going on here. You got a bunch of people that just they don't understand what's going on with us.
Yeah.
So they're over here. But little by little, when it starts affecting them, then they're going to come around. And one of the areas where it's going to start affecting them is that when they start to realize that some of this lack of that doesn't make common sense starts affecting them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it has to be something like a bridge falling down in Florida.
Florida. Yeah. Oh, how often. Yeah.
And what Trump sitting there, he's complaining about our infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
There's a perfect example of what happens when you get a bunch of liberals running the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I did some background checking on who's running that. That's nothing but a bribe and a scam and everything else.
Well, wait a minute. Now, here's something I just found out lately, and you already know this guy's always one step ahead of me anyway. But Obama was given, some ridiculous figure for infrastructure. I mean, it was just a total amount of money for infrastructure, and only a fraction of that went for infrastructure, of course. And watch and see what Trump is going to getting about one half of what he's got. Watch and see what he does with that one half.
Yeah. Well, it's already
starting.
It's like that wall I read the other day. I think Trump was talking about $25 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
In fact, I heard figures as high as $40 billion. He thinks he can get it all done for $18 billion.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that they never tell you about that wall. That wall prevents the people that are going on welfare here and using all our services. Now you add the cost of that, it makes that wall cost very small.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I think I read that something like $118 billion a year that we spend on these people who here illegally
on welfare.
On not just welfare, but all the services,
all
the hospitals.
And I've got to tell you, you're going to love this. I'm in line one day at Walmart, and the line was just unbelievably long. And I'm sitting there, I'm just and I'm talking to this lady, and she's a teacher, and we all know how they don't get paid any money. Our priorities are all screwed up as far as tea. And she's sitting there. She's a divorced mother of 3 who's teaching, right? And she's got the journalist. I'm looking in her basket. It's the journal essentials that she needs, right? In front of her is this lady who eventually pays with food stamps or that card or something. And this lady has got steaks and chops and all this stuff. And we've all heard these stories before. Right. And I pointed this out to her, and she said, yeah, you and I are paying for those steaks. And we are. How sad is that?
Oh, just last week there at Smart and Final, I seen two gals go through the EBT cards, and they had a great big New York strip.
This poor lady, divorced mother of 3 kids, working on a teacher's salary, she can't afford steaks. It's certainly not on a regular basis.
Oh, my Lord. These gals couldn't afford a New York strip either if they had to pay for it.
No, they could not. But hey, Gary, you and I are paying for that.
Well, and that's part of the cold anger that people have gotten tired of. And they call it cold anger, but it's currently a little hotter. Okay, you watch that, but you don't say anything.
Yeah.
I watch that. I don't say anything, but it registers it.
Sure it does.
Okay, and then it just keeps going and going and going, and that's why Trump got elected.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because enough people had enough cold anger.
Yeah.
You never know who they are. They're standing just like you, Marty, very polite. Very
like you said, they don't say anything, but when it comes to voting,
register.
Yes.
I'll tell you what registered was those steaks.
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
tell you what registered was that New York strip.
Yeah. The strip registered for you. The T-bones registered for me.
Right.
Yeah.
But you didn't go run up and make a scene out of it or nothing. No. You just sat there and went into that. But it's stuck in your mind, and it's there. And little by little, as that cold.
I hadn't even thought about it until you brought that up, and then boom, it hit. I remembered. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, you still remember it right now.
This wonderful lady who works her butt off with her 3 kids, divorced mother of 3, and she's got hamburger. Yeah.
Well, it's that cold anger. It's what got Trump elected.
Yes.
And that's why they can't the libtards, media and all, can't understand why they can't convince us to go back to thinking the other way.
Yeah.
How can we possibly keep voting for somebody like Trump or his programs? Because what media doesn't understand, they do not have a concept of the cold anger.
Yeah.
Now go all over the United States.
And we're just 2 people, you and I. There's a whole bunch of us.
Well, go over. You think that anybody isn't sitting there and all over America looking in that line and saying, registers.
Yeah.
They don't say nothing.
Absolutely. Great point. Great point.
It's the cold anger that got Trump elected, not hot anger.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, as it happens every single week, I say it every week. I've been saying it now for over a year. when this man comes on, time flies. And and that time has come. I've got to say that every week I ask you to go up and shake hands with a policeman and tell him, a law enforcement officer, and tell him how much we appreciate him. Don't do what I did this morning. And I'm going to tell you what happened, Gary. This will make you laugh. There's a CHP on a motorcycle, right? And he's sitting there, and I get out to go up and shake his hand, and he takes off, and I said, "Hey!" And of course he stops, and he comes back, and I apologized to him for yelling at him. And when I told him what I wanted to tell him, he shook my hand and he laughed. He said it was worth it. And I said, "Hey," he said it was worth it to have you shake my hand and tell me how much you appreciated that. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that, because it was a natural reaction for me to yell. Poor guy probably thought I was going to shoot him or something, and he turns his motorcycle around and comes back, So make sure you don't do that, but do go up and shake their hands and tell them how much we appreciate them, because we do. And Gary, I hope you're going to be back next week.
Yeah.
And remember, we're working toward taking this show to the Elbow Room. And Mike, the owner of the show, is working on it. I've already talked to Mike Serenian. In fact, I talked to him yesterday about it. He was excited about it. We're going to take this show to the Elbow Room on a wonderful day. Mike, Gary and I will both be there, and we can field questions from a live audience. It's going to be a different thing, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great thing.
Well, I hope it's fun. I don't have some libtard.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have a lot of hecklers or crazy people in the crowd, but we're willing to try it, and I think we can handle them. Gary and I, believe me, we'll be able to handle them. So let me say, as I do every week, until we meet joyously again next Friday at 3 o'clock, heaven's blessings.
Stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to
Valley Talk.